Hey all, welcome back to another episode of Coot SaaS Partnership Podcast Series. This is Shankar. I'm the founder of Coot, and I'm going to be the host for today's episode. Today with us, Barrett is a special guest, and he has been there in the partnership for a long time. He had a long stint with HubSpot, managed multiple partner programs, and presently he's head of alliances with RAM, right, a financial technology product. Today, he's going to discuss all about how he's managing different programs, what is being successful, and for different partner profiles. So, without much ado, I would like to invite Barrett to our podcast. Hi, Barrett. Welcome to our podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here and have this conversation. Frankly, it's the best part of what I get to do every day is talk about partnerships. So I'm glad to do it.
It's all our pleasure. I think I'm going to enjoy the conversation with you. I'm sure our audience also will have the same experience. So as an icebreaker, could you tell a little bit of your background, kind of work you do? Barrett?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So I have a sort of untraditional path to get to partnerships. I think a lot of us do that end up in this industry. I started my career after college. I have a design degree, actually, a digital design degree. And I thought I
Wow.
was going to go work in marketing agencies and do all of that. Didn't love the idea of it. I graduated at a time when the economy in the US was really bad. And so I ended up in restaurants. I was a restaurant leader for a number of years and managed and opened restaurants and built teams and led hospitality groups, and it was a really awesome experience, but not a healthy lifestyle. 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. is not a great way to live, especially when you want to get married and have kids. And so I found my way into tech. I worked for a startup that was Google backed that sold to restaurants and built this really cool technology and machine learning system that did well. We exited, and I found my way to HubSpot, and I spent almost a decade there. To your point, in a variety of partnership roles, I acquired partners. I was the first head of partner training globally, and ultimately led all of sales training as well. I managed some of HubSpot's top partners and was, a P Club rep as an individual and did all of that work. Was a team lead. Ultimately became a corporate lead where I brought partner to upmarket, helped facilitate the way that partners worked with the larger deals and the larger teams there. And in my last year, I led corporate strategy on the way out around partners as we went up market, and we had a great team I got to work with. So really good journey. I learned a lot about sort of what I call my partner MBA of like how partnerships work and how you build programs and how you think about scale over time. I then went and worked at HubSpot's top partner in North America, a business called New Breed. Did that for a year, leading sales and partnerships for them as well. And then about 6 months ago, maybe 7 months ago now, depending on when you're listening to this, could be longer. I found my way to Ramp. Frankly, the opportunity is significant here, and so when I listened to the problems and the challenges and the things that they were trying to accomplish, it just sang to me. Really interesting place to come and build as head of alliances. The way that we work with ERPs and HRS companies and ISVs and how we develop a go-to-market motion with services partners that helps us scale the way we impact our customers. And so that's what I've been up to for the last, gosh, about 5 months now, I think, and certainly really enjoying it.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. So could you tell a little more about your current role, right? And even a little bit an introduction about what the company does so that people
Sure.
can relate, the kind of work you do, Barrett. Yeah.
Yeah, so Ramp, if you haven't heard of us, I expect you have as a listener. We're sort of everywhere right now, but Ramp is a super high growth, financial company, right? Fintech company. We started with a corporate credit card and helped companies to save time and money. We've expanded into AP, procurement, travel, and a variety of other products, including treasury, to help companies really optimize the way that they spend, manage, and use their money, their capital, to grow more effectively. And so we like to think of ourselves as sort of a productivity business at this point because we are impacting all those different ways cash is used and certainly money is used throughout a company. We're the all-in-one solution for financial teams. So your CFO and the folks that work within that group are thinking about how they manage finances, how they manage spend programs, how they think about putting their money to work. We capture all of that and we help companies save that time and money that I described. My role, as I mentioned, in terms of leading alliances, is focusing on the ERP, HRIS, and ISV technology paths to market. So ERP like NetSuite and Sage and Acumatica and Microsoft, HRIS like ADP and Gusto and Workday, and then you think about ISV as like any technology company integrated with us that has a go-to-market. All of those businesses help our customers in some additional capacity, and so we add in Ramp as a solution to help them do the things we do well in tandem with those product lines. Then what we do underneath that is we build a services partner layer. So each of these different companies, excuse me, NetSuite, Sage, again, ADP, et cetera, they all have partner ecosystems. And so what we're doing is we're partnering with those partners to develop a services offering around, Ramp as a solution to add into what they're already doing. So if they're a Sage partner and they are migrating folks to Sage, we ensure that they also layer in Ramp as a solution to help optimize their cash management, help them save time and money. And so it's a nice mutually beneficial relationship where the customer ends up getting more additive, accelerated value in those investments. The partner develops a healthy services revenue stream, obviously, and then we grow alongside them. So we're cultivating this ecosystem, this community of people that can help our customers help themselves with our product, and then obviously those integrated products as well. And then for color's sake, next to me, I've got a leader who owns our FI business. So think of channel along VCPE lines, right? They've got a company they invested in. They want to see that company do well. And so they manage their cash through Ramp and their spends and such. And then we've got an accounting channel as well, accounting partners who are consulting their clients on how to better manage their business growth. And that obviously brings Ramp into the equation too. So I sit in alliance as I described. We have an FI, we have an accounting business as well that sit next to me.
Got it. Got it. So when you started with working with Ramp, Barrett, did you start from scratch of the partnership program, or it was there in some form and size?
Ramp had done the like 0 to 0.5, 0 to 1 journey already. We had established some beachhead opportunities in terms of services partners. Some of our early first to market partners are here now, and they have been for the last year, 18 months. The ERP, HRIS, et cetera, relationships, those were already in place as well. I was tasked with coming in and taking what my predecessors had done a really good job in terms of building a starter motion with
Yeah.
and formatting how we grow this thing, right? So I think about like, businesses in terms of sophistication level and maturity level. And we see this in the way they spend their money. We see this in the way that they go to market. Ramp, in terms of a partner program, is exiting the startup stage, the earlier stage where you're sort of figuring things out. We've entered the growth stage, and that's when I joined. And we're focused on how we build program and process and scalable impact, not just for our customers, that's working quite well, but how we actually help our partners. And so think of me as like program development, in many ways, right? We're hiring a team. I've got 7 people that work here now. They didn't exist here 5 months ago. We're moving fast. And so we're building this, this bus, if you will, this train as we move down the tracks.
Got it. Got it. So how do you think about, having a partner program, right? For probably example of Ramp, right? Probably I will also ask some follow-up questions, later, right?
Yeah.
What are the touch points? Because there are so many different, partner types, personas are there. So how do you choose, Barrett, which is a good partner type is relevant for your business? Yeah.
You start with an ideal partner profile. So you look at from a business level perspective, what types of companies, should you be spending time with? The
Yeah.
reason I say that is there's a couple different frameworks, but thinking about like, do they have mutual customers or capabilities that overlap, and are they interested in your service offering as an opportunity? The second is obviously the personas at those businesses, who the head of services is, who the CEO is, et cetera. That matters, but ideal partner profile is the first foray into that space. And that comes from looking at mutual ICP overlap. Do we have a customer that is working with a third party of some kind? I like to keep it really simple. I tell every go-to-market leader who asks me the question of where do I start, I say go talk to your top 10 most communicative customers, and then talk to your next 10 least communicative. And there's probably overlap there. They're working with some vendor that does X or Y, whatever it is. They help your platform extend further into customer value, or they retain, or there's something that they're doing using your tool. Those are your first partners to market. And usually it's centered around what I describe as like the value triangle. The partners, services, expertise, consulting, whatever framework that is, plus your solution, plus that
Okay.
customer's problem creates this like nice synergy, this moment in between where everybody wins. Partner gets services, customer gets more value, your business grows, the world goes around. But you have to think about it in sort of 2 layers. That's the ideal state, the better together story you hear a lot in partnerships. The other part of that is identifying, do the partners have buy-in? Do they have an investment, right? Are they willing to invest in developing a partnership? Do they see the value? Like, are they excited about what you're doing, and does it actually help them? And what's their sentiment on the sort of market overall? But those things are all important in terms of early partner development and how you think about curating those first to market partners. But mostly, to keep it simple, it starts with identifying customer overlap. Where are our mutual customers getting value from somebody else? Because those are probably businesses you should go and explore some sort of a go-to-market partnership with.
Got it. Super. I think that's a good framework. At least someone can, take a leap of it. So you
Yeah.
also mentioned about SI partnership, right? I think how does SI partnership fit into your overall scheme of things, Barrett? And I guess one of the things, at Coot, we also practice SI partnership, but for some reasons, for the early stage startups, it doesn't really work, right? For various reasons, like SI is too large a animal, and too many layers, and unless they have a service revenue to it, they will really not move it. There's so many problems. So how does a SA partnership is really working within Ramp, and how did you really crack it?
I think it's working because of our customers more than anything. A lot of go-to-market leaders, sales leaders, partner leaders tend to lean into in their early sort of days in figuring out channel, like what's in it for them. Does it help us sell more customers, help us retain more customers, whatever your desired outcome is. When you look at what your partners are asking for, like it was pretty obvious to us when our customers needed better integrations, meaning like our core integration was helpful, but they wanted, deep customization in an ERP or deep customization in X platform or whatever it is. When we could bring in businesses that had expertise in doing that and make them a partner, that was a natural progression for us early on. So now our customers got deeper, more integrated value in terms of not just our robust and comprehensive connector, but then we could go and that partner we could rely on, curating the other tool that we're connected to really fit the need of the way the customer wants to use our platform. Ramp is not difficult to use. It's easy to implement. We pride ourselves on a really good frontline team member experience in terms of UX, UI. But when you think about extending the value of a platform like ours, it does benefit from additional investment from folks that do this on a regular basis. And so we found that our customers were essentially asking for us to build to allow this ecosystem to start to grow, and we just sort of leaned into that opportunity.
Oh, interesting. So, okay, probably now I will, extend the question, right? If any new other SaaS tool is there, right? When it's a new, may not be a bootstrapped or in a very early stage, but even say that they also got a $50 million, right? How do you how can they really go about, and what are the kind of questions they need to ask themselves before thinking of whether I am suitable for SA partnership? I think from your
Yeah.
experience, do you have again any guideline there, Barrett?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to answer two questions first and be very, very tight and clear on those answers. The first question is, do we have product market fit? A lot of early businesses want to bring partners in when their product itself has not been proven to be repeatable in the market. If you think about product market fit, it's does a customer show up? Do they find us, or do they show up? Do they see the value we're delivering? Do they run through a sales process? We'll talk about that in a minute. Do they use the platform in the way that we expect? And then do they stick around? And actually, it's important. I learned this from Mark Roberge, who was the original CRO at HubSpot and runs Stage 2 Capital now. He always talked about like this PET equation, which is P% of people do E event over T time. And the idea was that a certain number of users, 80% or greater at the time, this is 10 years ago, but in HubSpot's current customer base, were using five or more applications on a monthly basis. They posted a blog, used social media, hosted an ad, built a landing page, whatever it was. And that was important because that was the leading indicator of product market fit because product adoption was high enough. I highly encourage a metric-based measurement of how a product is being used as a North Star for product market fit. Once you have that, then you look at go-to-market fit. Do we have salespeople, CS people, mostly sales on the front end? Can they find a customer? Can they sell a customer on the value, identify good fit, et cetera, qualify, close the deal? Does that customer stick around? Can it be expanded? Like, do we have a high churn rate? Do we bring in bad fits? There's all these questions to ask, but we have go-to-market fit identified, meaning we've built the math problem, the gears are working, bring a salesperson in, ramp them into their role, make them successful on, call it month 6. They're then fully productive from month 6 to the next 24 months they stay in the business or whatever your timeline is. That's really important because once you've got product market fit and go-to-market fit, then you look at partner market fit. And that's where you start to think about, okay, we know we can extend the value of our platform, or we can increase the leverage in terms of our acquisition or retention engine when they're already built. We know what we're benchmarked against. A lot of early leaders say, we want to be partner led. Of course you do. You want another business to do the work for you. That only happens in a very rare few occasions when those partners already exist in the market, you've identified product market fit, and there really is not a direct path to market, that partners are the only way in whatever space you operate that businesses actually buy and sell. But generally, product market fit, then go to market fit with sales and CS, then you actually look at marketing, certainly, to be clear. And then you look at partner as your third layer. And then you use the framework that I described to you, which is you look for where overlap is in terms of customer need. Do you need more integrations work? Do you need implementation work? It's a very common scenario. As a platform, we're not hard to implement, but our customers benefit when there's customization of the ERP, for example, that we're connected to. And there's all these symbiotic relationships already in place. Don't reinvent the wheel. Go talk to those people. Go talk to those companies. Ask them how they're using, your product. Ask them why your product is valuable. Those are your first partner market fit statements, and then go test it in the market. And then it's just an experiment process thereafter. Hypothesis is this statement in terms of value prop will work. Run the experiment across a series of conversations, prove that it works, and then go do that in a repeatable way. And I'm simplifying, but you get the idea.
No, it's beautiful, right? I think simply at least it gives a clear strategy for you to approach the partnership angle. One of the problems which the partnership folks, right, especially when they started doing the 0 to 1 off partnership, is like buying the management, buy-in, right? I think
Yep.
in the resources, in terms of the time, because many times, even as a consultant, the clients come and say that, hey, could you build partnership for us? And then the next question says, okay, next month, how much we can get it, right? How much revenue? So I think you also worked with very established company like HubSpot, but not so probably fast growing, but like Ramp.
Yeah.
And anywhere in between, right? I think you're also advisor of so many companies, right? How can someone can educate to some extent or
Yeah.
teach the management about how can they really go about the partnership?
It's an age-old question, sort of tongue in cheek, but I think it's important to be conscious of the lens that they are interpreting the problem from. I use that framework quite a bit in my job and certainly my life. I have a 6-year-old, so it's always what is his perspective. When you think about, that leader, that manager, they care about the number or they care about retention or whatever their goal is. You need to be very clear on how the partner motion you're developing or exploring aligns to service that need that the business has. You're experiencing, in most instances, a lack of education, not a lack of buy-in. Buy-in comes from a connected sort of a correlation
Okay.
between the work you're doing in developing partnerships and how those partnerships then impact the business numbers, KPIs, trajectories, or otherwise that they are actually looking for. And so if you go foundational and you say, how do I keep this really simple? I always say, interview your stakeholders. Go sit with your head of sales or head of CS or CEO, whoever that person or those people are. Say, what do you care about? What do you gold on? Start to be empathetic and learn the things that matter most to them so that when you curate partnerships, you look for ways to align those partner impacts to the things that those partnership beneficiaries, right, if you will, the go-to-market leads you're working with, actually can win from. Once you do that, it's just a matter of measuring consistently and then managing up. I think what most often happens is a lack of transparency and insight into what's working and what's not. And I also think it's also, that I think it's more important to be foundationally secure. So that's why early partner fit is important in identifying what your KPIs are. Is it new deals? Is it customer retention? Is it expansion? Is it number of integrations? What are the metrics that you're going to think about success as a North Star on? And using those to relate back to what matters. My team here focuses on our core KPIs every month. We're going to hit them. We're going to, blow them out. We're going to do the best that we can, but we're also building the program as we go. And so it's this juxtaposition between the energy and effort that goes into building the foundational bricks that you stand on. You got to do that every day, but also hitting the numbers that matter. You got to do that too, but also managing up and making sure folks are aware that you're doing both of those things independent of each other to drive towards an outcome that impacts both.
Got it. Got it. So in your words, as long as there's a clear communication, that should not be a big problem, right? Okay, so between the sales team and the partnership team, right? Many times from the account sharing to various territory management and other things, again, a problem, right? I think who owns the account? Do you use any tools? Do you use any standard process, or do you have a clear swim lane, Barrett? How do you handle these conflicts?
Yeah, it's like the age-old question too. I think it's in my experience, it's important to set boundaries very early on and have a very clear framework that you operate in and you don't waver on. You can't change it all the time. You see a lot of early stage companies that, the policy will be, your lead is qualified and confirmed by sales ops. Whatever they say goes. Kind of ambiguous, but sure, right? Others say, well, we use LinkedIn as our metric of sort of validation. Sure, maybe. But you can do that. You can do anything you want. You could say it's whatever I wrote on this piece of paper here in my hand, but it has to stick that way for a period of time. However, the smart organizations iterate on that. They change it twice a year or once a year. So they're always evolving based off of what's happening in their teams and in the market. The other part of this is staying nimble and staying flexible. The best that I've experienced myself, and this is one perspective, but the best ways that I've seen that done are to do two things. One, overlay early. Like partners should not be competing with direct. I won't say their name, but I watched a really successful software company develop a really good partner program and point them at the exact same problem the direct team was focused on, but customer acquisition. They did it for 10 years. And it worked in the beginning because there wasn't a big enough direct team and the partners had good leverage in the market. And so it worked. But very quickly, it created a lot of tension, unhealthy tension, and conflict it actually slowed the business's growth. And actually, call it 10, 12 years in, the business had a pretty big drop off in terms of productivity because of it. Uh, the businesses that I've seen do it well are the ones that overlay early, meaning channel maybe acquires customers or whatever and collaboratively works with the direct sales team to co-sell that business. And then both teams retire that number. Both teams get attribution for the goal. It benefits because, when we look at it that way in terms of dynamic, now there's no conflict. They're incentivized to work together. And you benefit also that the number is mutual. Some companies, some sales leaders typically will say, yeah, but I'm compensating for the same behavior twice. You're not, if you look at it in terms of one metric is attribution in terms of growth, so net new customer acquisition. The other is customer closed won and retention. You can sort of divide and conquer a little bit that way. Partner will always be closer to the problem. It's an important thing to know. Your partners understand your customer better because they have their trust, because they are in that business. And whether you're a software or a consulting firm or otherwise, they will always be there before you and probably be there after you. And so if you think about that, the third is to sort of like put trust in your partners. It's hard, right? We're control oriented and go to market. We are incentivized to be that way. But if you look at partner as an extension of your organization and really your representation in the market, then you need to be educating them on how to market, how to sell, how to service, how to retain really well. Use your own best practices to do that. But when you combine those ideas of trust early, build a collaborative co-sell and develop pathways to educate them as you grow, then they actually become a really healthy extension of your company. And now they are your leverage in the market. They grow themselves. They have this sort of bomb-proof relationship with you, and that they're symbiotic and mutually beneficial. And first and foremost, and most important, your customer wins because they've got a really healthy dynamic in that when they want to evaluate your business, they can go to your direct team who will bring a partner in. They can go to your partner team who will bring direct in. There's no conflict there. They're not competing on price or on, feature comparison. They get good services. The partner knows the platform, so they're getting really good insights and benefits of being able to co-service together. And then the output is like you get a better customer. They stick around longer. They use the tools more. Everybody wins.
Super, super, Barrett. Probably move along, right? I think when it comes to managing the partnership team, right? What do you look into that, especially if the person is not worked earlier in a partnership team, right? Probably is a good sales guy, right? So what are the characteristics of a good partner manager, according to you?
Yeah, I mean, there's this guy that I worked with years ago. His name's Andrew Quinn. If you ever hear this, Andrew, I miss you. You're fantastic. He taught me a really interesting principle of how you think about hiring somebody for a role. He says three buckets. It's really simple. The first is uh, customer experience, customer knowledge. Do they know your customer? Have they worked with your customer? So they work with partners like yours. The second is industry knowledge. Have they worked in and around the industry that you're selling into, working in, et cetera? And the third is product knowledge. Have they sold a similar product or worked with a similar product, et cetera? I think you can have percentages of each of those buckets. You got to have at least two of them mostly full. Ideally, you have a little bit of each of those, but sort of time will tell. For me, if you've got those, that gives you like the right to have the conversation. But go-to-market knowledge is invaluable, in my opinion. Go-to-market knowledge in terms of like, knowing the industry, knowing the problem, understanding how to work to consult other businesses, having a width of knowledge across marketing and sales and CS. And it's really important, product certainly. It's important to have depth and range in partner, because partner is not just a sales motion. And to be clear, I say just as a respectful term. I'm a salesperson myself. I was in sales for years as a direct salesperson. And what I can tell you the core difference is that direct owns a customer dynamic, partner owns a business dynamic, and it is quite different. The direct sales member is working in a linear fashion. Step one is a connect call. Step two is a discovery. Step three is a demo. Step four is a negotiation and close. That's a simplified version, but you get it. And you need to know your problem statements. You need to know your competitive intel. And there's a lot to that job. And to do it well, you got to be a very specific personality. And I think that matters. And I think you can learn how to be great in that capacity. Moving from that to partner tends to be quite challenging for folks, because partner is non-linear. Partner is a conversation about their marketing, and then you talk to them about a customer, and then you talk to them about product, and then you talk to them about a sales process. And all of this is to say that you got to kind of move the balls forward, move the chess pieces forward on the board, because you are playing chess, different from checkers. I think about direct sales very much as a checkers game. There's different dimensions. That is not a me crap talking here. Like, you can play chess in direct, but generally speaking, when you think about the difference, to give it a good example, chess is linear, straightforward for the most part, and it's progressing through the board. Chess is different, right? So checkers is linear, chess is three-dimensional, and I think partner tends to be more of that dynamic. And so being able to look at the problem from all angles, have empathy to the different types of dimensions that a business is going through, and then again, having this ability to sort of zoom in and do something in the weeds at 100 feet and really help them, and then zoom back and look at the problem from 30,000 feet in the landscape of the opportunity. That sort of zoom in, zoom out dimension is also valuable.
I think very nice about you, Barrett, is for each and every question, you have a set of guidelines or a framework, I think, which I think the people can really, make a note of it, right?
Yeah, I appreciate
So,
that. This is how I learned, for what it's worth. This is how I've got to where I am in my career. I didn't, you can't go to school for partnerships. You got to sort of learn as you go. And I appreciate that compliment. It means a lot, because it's, in my opinion, the best way to assimilate and share knowledge, when you can make it relatable, connected, and correlate to something somebody can understand. So that's great.
no, this no really helpful, right? I think otherwise you can go on and explain about it, but when you give a framework, right, it sticks to it, right? So,
Yeah.
so one of
Yeah.
the challenges again with the partnership people is like they are one step away from the customer, right? They don't listen to the customer's problem, the processes, and other things, right? To some extent, I would say for them, the partner happiness becomes a world, right? Um, Ideally it should be the customer happiness should be the world. Every company exists to satisfy the customer, right? So what do you suggest the people, right? How do they really get to know the customers and when they are not close to the customer?
Yeah. I think it's important as a partner, leader, manager, acquisition rep, whatever your role is. I think you need to be even closer to the customer, frankly. I think as a direct sales rep, you can be a little bit removed in some organizations. Some you can't, but in some you can. You sell the deal, it goes to a CS team or an account manager, and you kind of step away. I think, because I believe, in my experience, because your partners are closer to the problem, they're going to educate you on your customer needs earlier and more often. They're going to help drive a lot of, hopefully, product strategy and go-to-market strategy. A layer deeper, though, requires, in terms of expertise, your investment in understanding your customer problems and challenges too. Because the way to acquire the best fit partners is to know what your customers actually need and identify that gap in the market and go find partners to help facilitate or service that. If you look at it from the other lens and say, well, I'm one step removed, you are at times in a sales process, but actually, again, because your partners are closer to the customer trust level, and in many ways more ingrained in their business, you end up in a position where you can actually get closer to customer reality, what they're really experiencing, what they really need, because your partner can pull you into those dialogues and those conversations. I think to be sort of juxtaposed, like the worst partner managers treat the job as just an account management dynamic. I'll just manage this partner, versus I'll be a part of their business, a part of their go-to-market. And that requires as such to be invested in and involved in the same mutual customers that we both share. So you can be really effective at empathy and guidance and support and all the things that go into being a good partner leader.
Got it. Got it. Got it, Barrett. Again, very useful information, right? I know as you know, you have done multiple partner programs, right? I think have seen of partner programs of any other company. What are the good credentials? Like, someone probably, they're doing the partner program for the first time, right? How do you suggest them to put together a kind of good partner program? Again, I'm probably putting a very broad canvas, irrespective
That's all
of
right.
the partner type.
Yeah.
But again, since you are having very good frameworks, do you have good framework for them to, get to know and make a good partner program?
Keep it simple. Honestly, keep it simple. First principle of early partner business development, partner program development, et cetera. Keep it simple. People like to over-engineer. We need tiers and a directory and we need benefits. And like, no. Very simple. Go find 5 to 10 businesses that can help your customer using your tool or your service and sign up an agreement that says, like, we'll work together to go help that customer. Do that for a year. Do a bunch of studying, learning, asking questions. Your next level of that will probably be some sort of a referral agreement. Great. Like, go figure that out next. But what you don't want to do is over index on too much too soon. That said, some folks will get really far down the line and not hire enough infrastructure around it. It requires infrastructure to build a good partner program. So I'd say, like, be conscious of your headcount. You probably need a partner marketer earlier than you think. You definitely need business development and sales, in terms of partner sales pretty early on. You need partner leads. Like, you need somebody who can lead a program. It's really easy. I've consulted a lot of businesses that are like, when do I hire my first partner leader? I'm like, a year ago. And they've got an IC who's very successful, but an IC profile is different than a program builder. And it's important to designate the difference between those. An IC can get you from 0 to 0.5. 0.5 to 5 is usually somebody who's got experience, which is my third point, and that's go look at who you admire. You probably have this idea because you watched some other program grow, or you were a part of it, or somebody who's at one of those. Those are the people you should go learn from. And actually, for story's sake, when I was at HubSpot and I was leading go-to-market strategy for acquisition, I mean, total imposter syndrome, right? What an awesome responsibility and great opportunity. But like, who am I? What do I know, right? And I remember in my first days in that job, sitting in these meetings with brilliant folks and executives and folks that had a real perspective, and thinking to myself, but again, like, how do I know that this is what I'm about to say is the right answer? And so I went to LinkedIn and I started asking questions. I looked for the people that were doing the job that I had or had like progressed beyond that, head of strategy and the leaders in those businesses. I just asked them for conversations. Hey, you got 15 minutes? I would love to just get your insights and ask some questions. And I turned that into a podcast. I had a podcast for a couple of years myself, talking to partnership leaders about these problems. My advice would be, you don't need a podcast, but go on a tour, go on a series of conversations, go ask the folks that are doing this really well, what they're doing well in your industry, in your space, and learn from them. Partnership folks are really warm and welcoming, and we want to help each other. It's kind of what we have all done to be successful. And I'd say, like, don't be afraid to send a LinkedIn note of like, could you just help me understand XYZ, how you did it? And if they're willing to jump on a Zoom, be grateful, do 15 minutes, ask a couple of very pointed questions, maybe 3 questions in 15, and walk away with a little bit of insight that helps you be good at your program. But I think that's a really good way to approach the problem.
Super, Barrett. I think your answers are really to the point, right? I think you mentioned about whenever I ask questions, you say that, hey, go talk. So it's kind of near bound, right? I think one of the terms people really use.
Yeah.
Right? So is it near bound is one of the best ways of go about finding the real, which is a partner profile, or yeah.
People love to say near bound. I don't disagree with it. Like, I think it's important to really understand what that term means. You think about going to acquire a customer, especially like if you look back, 5 or 10 years, 10 years, customer acquisition was about content awareness, the early HubSpot days, early Salesforce days, like a lot of that was, answer your customers' questions with content, with social, be helpful, be educational. That shifted. The buyers became very much empowered, all of us, to learn way before we ever got to a business's front door. And then we got better at even asking the right questions. So that was what we relied on businesses for. And then we got sort of away from that. But we don't trust the company we're trying to buy from. I think it's been an inherent quality in most first, second, and third tier economies for the last 15, 20 years. Like we're just, because there's so much content, so much education, so many people trying to tell us what to believe, we start to develop this like callous skin against being educated. And so we started to, and you saw this in like the last 10 years, 8, 10 years, we started to like make decisions in smaller groups. We rely on, other companies, consultants, Reddit groups, even all of these other avenues that we developed our trust in come from experience. So first to market, really hard to do that. Like it's hard when you're trying to be a category creator. But nowadays, there's not a lot of that. It tends to be category improvers, disruptors. And so you can look at what those businesses have already done and you can join the communities for where your buyer is. I always say, go be where your buyer is. Really simple. Keep it really straightforward. If that's a Reddit group, if that's a blog, section of the internet, if that's just your own website, but conferences, whatever it is, be where your buyer is. Go look at who they trust and go educate those folks on the benefit of your solution, your partner program, your platform, whatever it is, because they own your customers' trust way before you will, after you ever will, like I said earlier. And so when you look at sort of finding folks online, Nearbound simply becomes your proximity to the buyer's community, the people that your buyer trusts. And so if you can be intentional around developing a good partner profile, yes, but customer profile, your ICP, and a persona within that, and being where they are. Again, conferences, if that's what they do, specific events, roundtables, if it's social media ads, whatever it is, right? Be where they are. You develop an awareness within the trust circles that already exist for them. And for that reason, you can be really successful in terms of growing, your nearbound, if you will, opportunity.
Probably I will differ slightly here, Barrett, right? Whatever you're
Sure.
telling, will it be applicable for even a complicated, complex enterprise deal?
Yep,
Or
I
is
think it
it,
is.
yeah, or is it like primarily for a SME, I don't know, where a single startups?
It's everyone. I think it's everyone. Like if you think about the last time you bought something, actually, I'll give you a good example. I'm in the US for folks that are listening. I live in New England, so I need a vehicle with four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Where my wife and I and son live, we get some snow, we get some rain, we get a little bit of everything here, right? We get some storms and such. I wanted something that was, when I initially got into this, a vehicle I could carry stuff in. We could go skiing if we wanted to. My in-laws live on a dirt road in the middle of nowhere, so like I got to be able to get it through that. So I bought a truck. I bought a really nice pickup truck that I enjoyed for years. I had it for maybe 8 years or whatever it was, and just about 8 months ago, year ago, it was getting up there in miles. I had taken good care of it, but I was thinking, we're probably the next stage. We should get a new vehicle, right? I wanted one. It was a good opportunity. I found one. I didn't go to the dealer and ask them questions. Not even necessary. I went to the internet. I went to boards, community boards around the specific truck that I wanted. And I listened to all of the users, all of the people. I went to YouTube. I watched videos of people doing reviews and owners talking about the good and the bad. I looked at Reddit. I read threads of like, this is awesome and you should do this and you shouldn't do that. I walked into the dealership and I said, I want that truck and here's what I'm going to pay for it. And the guy looked at me and smiled and he goes, well, you did your research. And I went, yep. You want to do a deal? He goes, yeah, sure, I do. And he goes, you should probably drive it first, right? I go, yeah, I'll drive it. And we got in the truck. And he goes, let me tell you how to. And I go, you don't have to. I know all the answers. And he was like, oh, you really know this vehicle? Have you driven one before? I said, no, I've never been in one. This is my first time, but I've watched the YouTube videos. I've read the Reddit threads. Like I've been through all of that. Buyers today are very, very empowered. They are self-educated. But if that vehicle, that company had been in those threads and created better, better YouTube videos and such to educate me, I probably would have bought it sooner. And I probably would have bought a higher end version of it if they had been able to sell me in that capacity. I'm a consumer. That's a B2C sale. That works, right? All the way up to the enterprise buyer, because while you say, well, it's a big ticket, it's still individuals that are buying. There's a misconception in sales that enterprise purchasing is different than small business purchasing. I disagree. There's more people involved. There might be more process and steps involved, but it is still people buying from people. And people don't really change as a group in terms of buyer behavior in a very short period of time. We are all now experiencing, as we described nearbound as a term, the nearbound buying process, which is that we're going to these resources that we trust, we're learning, we're educating, and then we're going and making a purchase. That's true in B2C and obviously in B2B, in small biz, in enterprise, and everything in between.
Oh, awesome. Awesome, Barrett, with a clear example. I would like to ask more and more questions, but I'm probably cognizant of the time. So no, really, really lovely having you, Barrett, and no, thanks for your insights and sharing all the information. So yeah, and wish you all the best for you, Barrett, and would like to have you in one more session, probably at a different point of time.
Yeah, I would love to. Thanks for having me. It's a great conversation, great questions. I appreciate it. If folks want to connect with me, I'm just Barrett J. King on LinkedIn. You can find me pretty easily. You can probably find my old podcast too if you wanted to. But at its core, we as partnership leaders love to help each other. So if you have questions, go ahead and reach out. I'm glad to answer them.
Oh, great, great, Barrett. Probably I will share all these information, whatever you mentioned in the podcast, as well as even the LinkedIn when I'm posting it, so that the people could reach out to you, anyone who's interested in learning from you. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Thanks again, Barrett.
Thank you.